Hey John here. So 2008, I think, Ford Focus. We're going to do brakes today, just rotors and pads. Well, we'll see what's doing. Yeah, so I got the wheel off the wheel turn to the right so I can get the things. But I got to tell you, I just looked in here. You can't see now, it's dark, but the brakes look okay. I mean, even the rotors feel okay. They don't appear to be worn like he's saying. He said he's metal on metal. That's what he said. So he brought the parts and the car over. I never test drove it, but looking in here, there's about 50% left on the pad. So maybe it's the other side. I didn't get to it yet, but it's possibly his rear. He does have drums in the rear, so you know you can't just peek in there and see if things are goofed up. You got to take the whole drum apart. But we're going to do the front brakes because that's what it came here for. And 50% here. I don't know what the other side is, but we're going to take it off regardless. See what it looks like. Which I'm going to try to use an impact. This might not be enough ass. I'm going to try it anyways because I don't want to walk over and get that brake apart. Let's see what happens here. Nothing. What's wrong with this thing? No air? That air. Alright, I got to figure it out why I don't have air. Whoa, dumbass. Here's one. It's not too rusted neither. Oddly enough. Wow. See that? This might be an easy one. The whole friggin' rotor wants to come with it. Let's see if we can get this off. Let's leave this on and loosen these calipers up. Loosen the caliper up first. I do want to leave it together, but might need to. Who knows if this thing is stuck? No, it's not. These are little bolts. Alright. Leave them together for a second. Just want to see if this thing comes off. Yeah, they don't look bad at all. I don't know what this fella's talking about. At least not this side. Let's see something here. The rotor doesn't look bad. Well, a little scoring on the inside, but not bad at all. Well, he's getting a brake job anyways, but let's see. Yeah, see, that ain't bad. It's maybe a little more than 50% gone, I guess. But both sides are equal, so that's good. So I'm going to take this caliper apart. Take the caliper off the bracket. Clean the bracket up. I'll do that on a bench so it's easy to do. Put the new pads in and the clips over on the bench. Slap this puppy back on. Doesn't look too bad in here for an 07 in the Northeast. But I gotta clean up everything. I gotta clean this hub up, shine everything up, and get things back together here. And then we'll do these. Look at the other side. It's probably the other side. If he's got metal on metal, it ain't this side. Honestly, this doesn't look bad at all. The shoes still have some movement to them. They're not like totally seized in there. And the top's a little bit jammed in there, but yeah, I mean, he's got well, maybe 25-30% left. So that's not horrible. The inside isn't really stuck neither. So the pads don't look bad, and they're evenly worn. So well, I don't think it's this side, although this pin over here is a little bit stuck. Well, a lot of it stuck. I broke my hammer yesterday. Oh, that's pretty stuck. This top one's fine. We'll have to get that unstuck. See if we can get some boots intact. I don't know. We'll have to see if we can get that out. So there's one problem. Let me get this cleaned up. Get this out of here cleaned up. Clean this whole thing up because I don't have a lot of time today. So there's obviously some jack in there. Maybe not rust jack, but some kind of jack. A little bit of rust on this one. So let me clean this up. The usual. So if this is your caliper, you can go to town and really clean everything up. And I'm just going to clean up first I use a carbide scraper if there's like really crappy, deep stuff on there. Get that deep stuff off. This is only where the hardware goes, the brake hardware. So I'll just get a few scrapes and take my square file and just dump the rust of that. You can see it pour off of there. Just dump the rust off of there until she's shiny. And that's all I do. Put some grease on there, call it a day. So let me just clean the rest of these up, and I do have to unstick this pin. Maybe I'll show that. So let me clean these up a little bit. Yeah, so I was able to get this pin out and just threw some brake clean on it, and fortunately it isn't rusted shut in there. It was seized in there, but just because there was no grease, and whatever grease was in there was hard caked, and I wasn't allowing it to move, so I squirted some brake clean in there too, so this pin's going to be fine. And then I just take a corresponding drill bit without the drill attached and go in there with a manual, you know, use the flutes to get that grease out of there if you can, or air or something. I don't want to leave all the other gunk in there. Doesn't look that bad actually. Usually a big glob of, feels, you know, you want a drill bit that fits in there tight but not, you know, too tight. We're going to take the metal off. This is perfect drill bit here. It's actually not that bad. So I'll just keep squirting it out, blow some air in there, put some new grease in, and we're going to put the, oh, and these, you know, I like using a manual file just because you can control it. You can get in there with a Dremel, I guess, if you can fit one in there, but then you risk ripping a boot or something. So, and this way I can see, like I just see there's a little line left there. So you can see clearly and get it right down to the metal. Because if you use a wire brush, I think I've pointed this out 100 times, it's just going to shine the rust up. You're not going to do anything with that except for shine the rust up. This actually removes the rust and gets it down to the metal, and you need to be down to the metal because when the new clips go over it, you don't want it jacked up from the old rust because your brakes ain't going to move. I know I've pointed this out a million times too, but let me keep going here. Yeah, so I got everything greased up, shined up. Now it's time to grease it up. I use this CRC stuff. I think it's synthetic, yeah. And you can get them little tubes at the counter when you buy your stuff, you know, your brake shoes and hardware. But I just put a little coating on here and that should do the trick. Not better than it was, right? Oh man, it's cold out here. Alright, so one of these is going to have that rubber tip on there, so it's going to have more friction than the other guy. This one I'm not even going to take off because it has good action. And this is the one that was seized. But I think we're good to go now. Yeah, in case there's air in there, you do want to get the air out. So that's good. And then just, if you're not going to paint these, I would go ahead and definitely put some grease behind here. Help slow that stupid rust down. Although these were not that bad, I gotta tell you, they were pretty decent. That's that. And what? Your brake, your shims, whatever you want to call them, your hardware. I'm so stupid. You know, get them suckers on the squares. And again, I also can't have enough grease on these. You know, these things got to slide in and out. Not like, you know, obsessively, but able to move, I guess. You know how it goes. Probably grabbed two of the wrong ones. But that's that. And that's that. Alright, so now your brake pads. This is an easy brake job. They're all easy, really. Unless you gotta rebuild something, but you gotta look for the squealers, you know. This one doesn't appear to, these look like squealers, but they're not. Because there'll be two with squealers. Look, I picked two of them up without squealers. Maybe they don't have them on. Yeah, there you go. So that's when your brakes get down to less than 10% probably. They start hitting the rotor. So these go to the inside almost always. So we're going to put them to the inside. Can't see anything. Running out of eyeballs. Oh yeah, here. So these springs on the end, these are kind of problematic because sometimes you can't get them in the hole. They'll just want to pop right back out. I'll show you in a second. Let me work on getting this in. I can see better. I can get it in better. There it goes. All right, let me show you in a second. Hold on a second. I got to get my hands clean here. Everything's falling apart. All right, so these use the instead of the spring. Sometimes they'll have springs, little V springs on the top here that keep, you know, to help spread your brake pads out when you let off the brake. These have them on the ends here. These are kind of problematic because you're trying to put it in and it's trying to push it out. So I got this side in, it's just sitting there. I like to load these before I put it on the car, and there's ways you can keep these in, but let me try to get this one in without slippery gloves on. So the tab, you know, is bendable, so I kind of just start one end in and get that tab started, and then you have to look down here. If you have to bend that tab down just a hair to get it in the hole, then that's what you have to do. Now you see, oops, this one popped out. Use gloves because these shims are sharp, but I can't feel nothing with the gloves on, so it's catch-22. See better on this side, so get that tab. There it goes. See, when you move these in and out, you know, they want to push back out. So you're just going to have to deal with it, or in some cases, what I do is, you know, you could throw some tape around it, but I just kind of walk over the car and hopefully hold everything together. Sometimes they are so powerful that you might have to bend them a little bit just to get them to get in a little more, but I think these will be alright. Let me get cleaned up again. Well, now we got to go back over the car because, hold on a second. So for the caliper, you know, I just kind of clean it up. The ring here, or whatever you got really. If it's just surface rust, you know, I said you couldn't use a wire brush, is just going to shine the rust, but if it's just surface rust, you know, I wouldn't get a wire brush in here, but, you know, clean it up whatever you can, a file, sandpaper. Because I'm going to hit this with some grease too. Once it's cleaned up, I'll put some grease around there just to protect it. And then the actual, get that to stay without falling, the hub, this doesn't look too bad. If it was caked on rust, which it isn't, it's just barely on there, I'll probably hit that with a wire wheel. Yeah, it's coming right off with sandpaper. So I'll get in there with maybe a drill and one of these, here, I got it over here. Oh. Yeah, one of these guys. Just put it on the end of a drill, go into town. Maybe one of these guys, you know, if it's this kind of rust. If it's this flaked on kind of rust where, you know, it's chipping off or you got to chip it off, then again, that's coming right off. What do you call it? You know, wire wheel, just shine that flaky stuff up. So I'll clean all this up and then put everything together and we're done. Get to the other side, see what it looks like, see where his scraping problem is, but that's how easy this is. Might as well clean these up too. So let me clean the rest of this crap up. Oh, and we got to squeeze that piston in too. I'll show that. Hold on a second. So cleaning up, if this is your car and you're going to be doing it yourself, you're probably going to be the next guy in here. I would clean this as best as you can get it, especially you know, this hub this rotor just fell right off when I first took it off, but sometimes this ring here, and I didn't clean it as best I could, I'll still work on this ring here, sometimes that gets corroded to even you know, whatever, 1/8 inch of rust on here, and you can't get your, it's either, you know, it holds your rust, the rotor gets rusted on either here or here, you know, because when you put this on, this one just fell off, but this ring here, you know, if it's got rust here and it grows, you can't, it just, everything just gets fused together and it's problematic. So that's what I do with that, and then I hit it with I'll show you. So let me get to this caliper first. The caliper, you know, you can use where is it? Regular old C-clamp deal, no problem with these kind. Because I have this tool, I'll just use it anyways. But a lot of people put that take their brake caliper or brake reservoir cap off. I don't mess with that. I just go slow with this. Let me get this thing set up here. I just go slow with it and press it in, you know, nice and easy. So that's about all there is to it. But doing with a C-clamper like this, nice and slow. You can feel if there's any corrosion rings. Just keep your eye on this rubber seal here and it doesn't get fouled up, and just go right to town. Squish her in. I mean, you're welcome to take that cap off, you know, but it's not like it never makes a difference to me. But I'm going to take the cap off anyway, just to you know, top off or take out any fluid that needs to be topped off or taken out. Well, I'll show you in a second, but I don't mess with it right now just because I don't want to pop the hood and do all that business. For me, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to squeeze this in until it bottoms out, and that's that. And it's going in really easy and no problems. So I don't suspect there's any problem with this caliper. And again, I don't know why this guy's brakes are squealing, but that's that. So let me get to the next step here. And so once again, what I do is paint that ring with, you can use brake stuff designed for that, you know, that sticky red stuff. Or I just put some grease on here. Same idea. It's just to protect it a little bit from rust. And that's that. So when I get that out of the way, tuck that up, get some fluid film on my, actually there might be a little platform here that'll rest easy enough. Like I said, I hit this up with fluid film just to keep the rust from coming back tomorrow. Now we can put on the caliper. Yeah. Lice! Oh my god, I stuck my lice. There we go. These boogers used to come with that oil film on them, you know. And then you'd have to brake clean them off. Now they come wrapped in plastic. There they dry. Where's my... Let's try this again. I got my bolt set up with blue Loctite. I don't know if you know, you don't want to use Loctite, have at it. I don't know what to tell you there. I think there was red Loctite on the original, at least it looked red, but I don't have red, so I'm just going to use blue. Most people don't use any, so, so I don't really think it makes a difference, honestly. So let me tighten these down and get to the caliper. I leave the 15 on here. I think I did, right? No, 14. Right? I can't see anymore. 15, 15. Alright. You want some torque on them too. I don't know what the torque is, you have to look it up, but I go until it stops and then a little more. So here's what I was talking about, these springs. These seem to be staying in there, but I do have a little a trick that I use for it's a different kind. But anyway, let's get this. Sometimes these calipers have little shoulders on them, you know. These don't, so it doesn't matter which way they go. You just got to get the nut in there, get the caliper on there. If they have the shoulder, you know, the slot, you have to align it up, otherwise you'll have a little gap there. You'll know what I'm talking about if you do. Of course, if you're working on this same car, you won't. Now these don't have any Loctite, the slide pin bolts. That's that. So we got one side done, basically. Put the tire back on, tighten these up. Now I'm not going to use a power tool for the slide pins, but as soon as I get this tight, and look at my ratchet. As soon as I tighten them up, I am going to see if you know, everything is loose enough. So hold on a second. Yeah, so tighten these down. These don't have to be tight. Tight. These have to be snug tight. Just snug them up and a little bit. Yeah, see, this is what I want to check for. Make sure this caliper is moving back and forth on your slide. So I think we're all set here. Let's turn the wheel, get that wheel back on, and go check out the other side. But for the most part, this is all I do, and it's easy peasy. It takes about, I don't know, 30 minutes, I guess, per side, if you really had to time it out. So really easy to do. So let me go look at the other side, figure out where this guy thinks he's got a scratching or a metal on metal problem. Like I said, it might be the rears, it's just he might not know it. So let's take a peek at the other side anyways. Oh yeah, here's where it's scraping, metal on metal. This side completely worn out. Have to get a tool in there. Let's see. We have something right here. We do. Yeah, that's both of them are down to the metal. Oddly enough, the other side was 50%. So They are a little bit seized in there, this one especially. So maybe it was just constantly rubbing up there. I don't know. We're going to free everything up, clean everything up, but yeah. I want him to come out of there. Yeah, that was definitely, had about 2 seconds left. And I'm sure his squealer was squealing, although, oh yeah, I could tell looking at it from this side. The squealer's sticking out more than the pad. So that's probably what his problem was. That noise. But these are kind of seized in here. So I do want to show you. I'm not going to bore you with this side, so I'm going to do the same exact thing. But I did want to point out, earlier I said you can put some in or take some out. I'm taking the cap off. I mean, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, if you're going to push it in slow. But if you do undo the cap, you can't really see the level, but I can. It's right about here, right? So what I was getting at is, because your pistons are already pushed out, you know, especially on this side, so your fluid's going to drop. So if somebody added some fluid thinking, oh man, it says max here, let's put some in, and now you go squeeze that piston in with your new brakes, it's going to bubble over the top. So that's what I was saying. You know, you might need to take some out. Of course, if it's your car and you know you didn't add any, you wouldn't have to worry about it, but this is down to about here, like I said. So pushing the other piston in on the caliper should raise this up close to max, but I'll look at it, and if I need to add some, I will. But usually you don't have to, unless you're doing a complete, you know, flush out or something. But alright, so that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Again, I'm going to do the same exact thing on this side. That's a wrap. So about an hour you could do your front brakes. Easy peasy. Alright, later.